Afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Uplift Me channel. I am Liz Statlander, marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor. Haven't been on YouTube Live in a really long time, but I've been getting such a strong reaction from this topic that I've been discussing on all my social media for the past couple weeks that I decided, okay, let's dive into this because it's important to you. And if you're here, forgive my flyaways today. If you're here, then you probably have seen some of my work the past few weeks where I'm talking about emotional entanglements. And being a therapist for 18 years, I can honestly tell you 9, if not 10 out of 10 times when people come in for therapy, they are emotionally entangled in other people's lives, in relationships, situationships, life circumstances. And when we're under a lot of pressure and we're very emotionally entangled in all the things around us externally, we literally lose ourselves and we wind up in almost a distorted reality where we believe that everything external must be exactly the way we want it in order for us to feel okay. And I can tell you from my own life experience, this is all wrong. It always starts inside. So when we fix our internal world and we change our internal world, that's when everything on the outside will begin to change, although not necessarily right away. So, emotional entanglement, we're going to talk about what that is, and we're going to talk about depression by comparison because this comes from scrolling largely. And it also comes from, again, hyper focusing on what everybody else is doing. And what I said this week on social media was that it's none of your business. What other people are doing with their lives is none of your business. I say that with humility and, understanding that I scroll. Okay. I'm human. I have a phone. I work through social media. So I scroll. And I know that no matter what the situation is, when we're scrolling, we are literally becoming emotionally entangled with everything that we see. And we're also becoming somewhat lost in other people's stuff. So we go from our lives in our internal world, hooked into and entangled into everything else around us in other people's lives. And when you understand that this is really none of your business, you then stop entangling yourself with things that really have nothing to do with you, and you can start focusing inward. And this is a big shift that a lot of people resist or don't understand. Well, but how can I not care about other people? And it's not about caring, and it's not about, we feel that as long as we know what's going on with other people and we're entangled in their lives or we're looking in on their lives, that we're in control, that we're prepared. And that's the nervous system talking. But the truth is, it's distracting you from the one thing that you can manage, which is yourself. So you could spend your whole day inside your home focusing on your spouse, your children, your neighbors, Facebook, Instagram. Sorry, I don't know, problems here. But you could spend your whole day in other people's business and you're going to feel drained. You're going to be thinking and giving all of your energy, your emotional energy, your mental energy to everyone else. When really, if you look inside of yourself, that's where the change comes. That's what needs work. And I see this over and over and over again in my practice, and I've experienced it. And the more empathic you are, the more you are sensitive to getting wrapped up into other people's lives. And there is a boundary and a difference between caring and carrying. So, but where I want to start with today is this emotional entanglement, how it leads to depression by comparison. Why? Because when we scroll and we look at other people's lives, which are completely curated, right? Social media, you only put out what you want people to see, and you're not going to put out the bad stuff. And a lot of times people put out the bad stuff because they want attention, not because they're actually dealing with it. So when we fall into this and we get all wrapped up, news media, scrolling, social media, other people's lives, what everyone else is doing in our home, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, we have abandoned ourselves. And so none of your business is our mantra. None of your business. What is your business is you and what's going on in your internal world. And we have to remember that when we're entangled and when we're looping and repeating behaviors over and over again of scrolling and looking into other people's lives and all the things that we do as humans, when we're doing that, we start to look and get emotionally charged of, oh, gee, I wish I had that, or why aren't I doing that? Or why isn't my family doing this? Or why didn't I have these opportunities? It's a natural human phenomenon that we understand ourselves and who we are through others. So, in other words, we wouldn't have awareness of self if we couldn't recognize others. So, society and human nature has forced us to, or conditioned us rather, to define ourselves and measure ourselves and compare ourselves to everything else around us to understand our own individuality, which is okay. But when we take it too far, which because of of technology we can't help but do, we then are reflecting and reflecting and reflecting and saying, why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? Why don't I feel like this? Why don't I feel like that? Why don't I look like this? And I could give you literally thousands of case studies from my own practice over the last 18 years where so many people, if not all people, come in because they feel that they're not worthy. Or they're not good enough, or their existence has to be proven. Why? Because look what everyone else is doing. So when we understand that, okay, we can look to others for inspiration, we can look to others perhaps for some advice, but when we compare ourselves, you're going to wind up likely very entangled emotionally and very depressed. I'm going to explain quickly, energetically, from an energetic standpoint, what entanglement looks like and what depression looks like. And you'll be able to put this all together and it will make a lot of sense to you. Our energy, imagine our emotions and our thoughts all have energy, energy forms. And when we are placing our awareness, our focus, our energy, our emotions on things outside of us, other people, social media, the news media, neighbors, committees, whatever, we are taking our own life force energy, which we only have so much of that a day, and we are giving it away. We are placing it outside of ourselves. So eventually, we drain ourselves. So when you're very anxious, you're always thinking, wait a minute. Um, Why do I feel so anxious? Well, because you're looping thoughts about what everyone else is doing, what everyone else is thinking about you, how you're measuring up. And maybe nobody wants to say it out loud, but I'm a therapist and I know that this is true, not just through my clients, but through my own life. I'm human just like everyone else. And I've had all the same experiences as all of you. Of course, I've had anxiety. Of course, I've had depression. Of course we are human and these are things that we all experience. So when we're putting all of our emotions on things outside of us, imagine like light beams getting all wrapped up and entangled. Like if you had cords all tangled up together and you have to pull them apart and sit down and untangle them and separate them so you have clear cords so they're clear. So if you can imagine when we're doing that, we start straightening out our energy and we start being much more aware and concise with what we think about and who we think about. And this is something I do in therapy with my clients. And I hope that to help you guys through YouTube today, I hope this is helpful. So, when you're focusing externally, you're sending out your own energy that you need to get through the day, to do what you need to do for yourself outside of yourself. And you're sending it into things like social media people, etc., that can't give it back to you. So it becomes extremely draining. So when we do that on a regular basis, we are draining our life force energy. We're putting out our emotions and our energy to all these other external forces that give us nothing back. And that's when we start to become depressed. And I say depressed by comparison as one type of depression, because often when we're looking at what everyone else is doing and how it's making us feel and so on and so forth, we're putting out energy, we're reflecting and comparing, and then eventually we're exhausted energetically. So, depression to me is when our energy is shut down, it's not moving because it's not there. We've given it all away. We might have given all of our energy away to a loss of someone or something. We might have given all of our energy away thinking about mistakes we made in the past or how we could have done things differently. We may waste our energy beating ourselves up, feeling shameful, being ashamed of ourselves, repeating, well, what if I had done it this way or that way? What would my life now look like? How different would it be? And all of these things that are so human and so normal deplete us literally of our life force energy and of our emotion. And so we hit bottom. And the reason that anxiety and depression often go together is because anxiety is the putting out, the thinking, the spending time, the looping thoughts, the racing thoughts. That's putting out and putting out and putting out energy. And depression is emotional shutdown. It's when we have nothing left to give. And so we feel blah. And that's so often why anxiety and depression are in their own loop together. They just go together because they feed off of each other. So the goal is to find balance, to find a place where two things can be true at once. So, in other words, we can care about our loved ones and our friends and family and social media and want to be involved, but we don't have to carry it. Carrying others is emotional entanglement, which is emotional deprivation, which leads to depression every single time. So when I say what other people are doing is none of your business, I mean it. And I say that with love because I want people to go inward and work on themselves and find inner balance and inner clarity so that we can live more joyful and productive lives. And I'm going to finish up with an example. Okay. So let's say you're working and your workplace, let's say you work with five people in an office. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. And if you stop and notice how many times are you thinking about other people during the day, what other people are doing, how they're reacting to you, what they're saying, how they're responding to you, versus focusing on you and what you need to do for you to have a productive day, to have an emotionally peaceful day. Think about it. And I bet the answer, the human real answer, is you're probably thinking about others 95% of that day of your time. And once we become aware of that, then we can change it. When we're not aware of it, it owns us. So let this video be a wake up call and an awareness to you to notice what you're putting your attention on, what you're focusing on, where your energy is going, and get it untangled so that you can be clear and concise and self focused, not selfish, but self focused, and you can care without carrying. If you would like to learn more, I'm going to start coming on live a lot back on YouTube, but Elizabeth Statlander on Facebook and Instagram. I just started a LinkedIn account. Click follow, subscribe on all my social media because I talk about this stuff all the time. And my goal is to help you live a more fulfilled and balanced life. Not necessarily a happier life. Are you happy? That's all semantics. No one's happy all the time. But what we can be is balanced, focused, and centered on what we really have control of, which is simply us. And if you'd like to sign up for a session, my website is upliftmeliz.com. And for now, I thank you all for watching and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay tuned for more. Give me a like, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. Do you feel that you're very entangled? What are you entangled with? And what are you willing to do about it? And I'm going to have to put my glasses on to see how to end this video. But I hope you found this helpful and you have a great rest of your weekend. Ciao for now.